G'day, and welcome back to test farm number 2. The first thing you're probably going to notice is this test farm is case red, not John Deere green. For those of you that have been following the channel for a while, that's going to be a bit of a shocker. But that's not the point. The point of this video is to talk about what is listed at the end of the patch notes as various improvements. In other words, changes that have been made to the game that were minor and weren't necessarily something game stopping that they had to put in the patch notes to let people know had been fixed. So first of all, watch this video and I'll talk about the changes that I have found so far. But I also want you to do something. I want my viewers to leave a comment in the comment section letting me know whether patch 1.3 has improved your game, if there are any changes to the game or things that are working differently that you have found now versus before the patch. And lastly but not least, definitely leave me a note if you've found something, well, if you found a new bug. Was something working for you before the patch that isn't working now? Now, the reason I ask this of you is to help keep track of what's changed and what's going on with the game. It's not uncommon for game companies to just list in their patch notes various improvements without getting into the details. Some of them can be fairly major, and some of them can be fairly minor. Now, I'm the curious sort. So, after yesterday's video, strange things happened on the farm, and we'll talk about that more later. I opened up my File Explorer and I went through the Farming Simulator 22 folder to see what had changed and what hadn't changed. It's fairly easy to do if you know what you're looking for. I was just looking for date changes from either the original date the game was released or the date of patch 1.2. And what I started to find was quite a few folders have been modified. The date of the modification was 24th of February 2022. So the day the patch came out. So that's why I know we were part of the patch. The reason I'm testing this combine out was because its date had also been changed. 24/02/22. Okay. Looking through the file folder, I can't see what has changed, but obviously there was something tweaked in that folder to make them change that. Now, so I started digging further. I noticed that pretty much all of the combines that were part of the base game have had their dates changed. to the date of the patch. So what have they done to the combines? That's why I'm running this one, like I said, is trying to figure it out. I don't know if they have changed the files to add slope compensation to all of the combines, or what. I just find it rather strange that all of the combines, the Class, the John Deere, the Case, all of them, and the forage harvesters have had their dates changed. So something has changed to the day of the patch. There are plenty of files like the animal pens and production facilities that have had no change to their date. Still lists the file as the 21st of December 2021, so we know they haven't touched or tweaked those files. The reason I went looking, and that's going to be full soon, is this. The sugarcane harvester. I had put in a bug report that it wasn't working properly. I was only getting 50% of the sugar, as I mentioned in another video, or sugar cane. There were no mentions in the patch notes of any changes or any fixes to it. So I decided to, come on, I wish they would get rid of that camera collision. See, it makes lining up very hard. If I keep it at this angle, but then it's hard to... Anyway, as you can see, it's working properly now. I'm actually getting the right amount of sugar out of there that I should be, and I double checked it against the tow behind, which had been giving me the correct amount of sugar right up until, come on, there it goes. It's still not perfect, but it at least puts out the right amount of sugar now, or sugar cane. So that was one of those unannounced fixes that I didn't know about. And I was going to continue to use the tow behind harvester, assuming that this one wasn't fixed. I hate the camera collisions. I really hate camera collisions, whether it's the trees or whether it's vehicles. Yeah, I know I don't help if I put my cruise control at the right speed, but anyway, I'm ecstatic because sugarcane on my main farm is a major source of income for me because it provides so much sugarcane and it keeps my sugar factory running all year long. Okay, let's forget about this part right here for now. Yeah. Animation's not necessarily fixed. I'm just glad it's putting out the right amount of sugar. And the reason I'm glad it's putting out the right amount of sugar is like I said, because I can now use a dual harvester as opposed to the single row harvester, and I will be able to get my fairly large sugarcane field harvested in half the time it took. I forget how long it took, but it took a long time. There were a couple of other things that I noticed while playing on my other farm yesterday and today that made me want to look deeper into the file directory. And let me just pull out of the way of the combine. So, like I said, a lot of these things have been changed. But one of the things I noticed was the rollers. I tend not to use the mega roll just because it's so awkward, but I had increased the speed, gone into the game file and increased the speed of the power roll 1230 to 10 miles an hour, just so it wasn't quite so painful to roll a field. But that file had also had a date change on it, so that's when I looked it up in the game and saw, yep, we're back to 7 miles an hour. That will be changing. I will be going back to 10 miles an hour. Now, as far as my video yesterday about something strange happened on the farm, like I said, I played on for a little bit, and after the initial weirdness that was going on when I made the video, everything seems to have gone back to normal, and speaking with somebody else, we were assuming that due to all the map changes, like with the factories having minor adjustments, well, the maps have, not the factories themselves, but the maps having minor adjustments made to compensate for the factories. The map basically had to reset itself, and it took a while to load the game the first time loading after the patch. Most likely that was the game doing all the recalculations it needed to do to make sure everything on the map was still properly in place and working as intended. Which, like I said, now I played through the initial little bit, everything seems to be back to normal. So I'm happy with that. Okay, so the only difference I see so far, I mean, it's hard to tell whether it has slope compensation or not since this area of the map's flat, but the only difference I see with the Combine is in its turning behavior. It's more efficient now. It's not doing a 3 or 4 point turn when it gets to the end of the row. It's actually making just a semicircle and coming back. Watch, it's gonna, yep, it's gonna do, okay. So, might have been as simple as changes to that. Who knows? As far as some of the other things that were odd that were going on the other map, like I said, the extra product coming out of the production facilities was probably just the map recalculating. Like I said, I know I had used that other cereal factory at one point, Then I used the dev commands to sell it back off and put it back and make sure it was in place. So it probably still had product in it, which the game goes, oh, gotta process. As part of the reset. The final bug, it wasn't, sorry, I'm not going to call it a bug. These are what I'm talking, like, that was just a reset. One of the other things I touched on was that I was being offered contracts to take product to facilities I owned. Like I had here, I think I have it in today, even on this map. Yeah, harvest sunflowers and take them to the oil mill. That's normal because I don't own the oil mill. Whereas, like I said before, I never really received those. Yeah, so it wants us to take these sunflowers to the oil mill. Sunflowers in this case, not canola. But if we look at the prices, the oil mill, $22.61, is the highest price location. Now, I don't own it, but if I go back to my map, my main map, or, well, let's go ahead and we'll cheat. Just for testing purposes. Yes, we'll buy the oil mill. Is the contract still available for the oil mill? It should be. Yeah, take it to the oil mill. And the oil mill still has the highest price. Like I said, before this update, I had never been asked to deliver something to a facility I owned. It had always been sent somewhere else. But I asked in the forums, and some people have experienced it even prior to Patch 1.3, as production facilities always offer a certain value for the product. This is apparently tied into multiplayer, where Farmer A can take product from his farm to the oil mill, which is owned by, say, Farmer B in the multiplayer game, and he dumps his canola or his sunflowers in at the oil mill, and he gets paid per 1,000 liters just like he would any other production facility. The only thing I find weird is just looking at this, the highest price right now is Goldcrest Valley and not the oil mill. The oil mill is the second highest. But now that I come to think of it, I have not had a contract to deliver product to Goldcrest Valley since pre-patch 1.2, when everybody was reporting those problems, and their way of fixing it was to eliminate the contracts to take product to a different area by train, and also increase the amount of product you needed to harvest. This was another feature of patch 1.2. So they dropped it from needing to harvest 80% of the field to needing to harvest 60% of the field in order to be able to complete the contract. just so you know, and it's little things like this why I tell you to keep watching the video, is that has also apparently been fixed. Someone in the forums is reporting, yep, I'm back to having to deliver 80% of the product instead of 60% of the product before I start getting paid. And Giants did warn us in patch 1.2 that this was a temporary fix. Enjoy it while it lasts until we find a more permanent solution. So obviously they found a more permanent solution. Now, I don't know if that's something that's going to happen long term or short term. That you're going to be offered contracts to take product to your own production facilities. While I was playing today, I did get a contract to turn 2 fields into silage bales and then deliver them to the BGA, which on my big farm, or my main farm, I own the BGA. So I baled the bales, I wrap the bales, I haul them down to the BGA. I think I ended up with 15 or 16 bales total between the 2 fields, and dumped them in the BGA. I got a contract complete about halfway through the bales being dumped in there, or 3/4 of the way. But then, because I own the production facility, I didn't get any additional funds like you normally do after you fill the contract, and the rest goes towards you. But I do have the additional benefit of being able to sell or process all that silage and sell the electricity and methane from it. So that more than makes up for what I would have been paid for delivering the excess. And I was thinking about it the same with the contract to deliver canola or sunflowers to the oil mill. Yeah, you miss out on being paid the extra, but sunflower oil or canola oil is far more valuable as a finished product than it is to just be paid the grain price. So in the long run, you come out further ahead. I wouldn't call it an exploit, because it doesn't seem to happen all the time. It's not something it's not like something I made happen. I'll keep playing and seeing if it continues. If it continues to happen on the odd basis, I'll take advantage of it. But if it gets to the point where I feel like it's becoming cheating, I'm just not going to accept the contracts. So anyway, those are my thoughts for today. Please, 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 like I said, sound off in the comments and let me know whether the game is working better for you than it was pre-patch. And if it isn't and you have bugs, please let me know what those bugs are. I'm trying to compile a list so that I can report them to Giants. Thank you for taking the time to watch the video, and we will see you in the next one. Oh, and now that things seem to have been fixed with the patch, and we know what's changed and what hasn't, I think it is safe to start doing the new series I was going to do, which was on how to use various production facilities and a detailed explanation on how they work. And since nothing changed there, I think it is safe for me to do those videos now. Take care and have a great weekend.